So we have in the Lyell Center projects all over the world. We have done a lot of work in terms of mainstreaming biodiversity into coastal development in South America, in Peru, in Colombia, also in Ecuador, in Galapagos, looking into marine protected areas and stakeholder involvement, and also projects that have been proposed in the coastal areas where it would need some sort of consideration of environmental impacts and biodiversity consideration and involvement of local communities. So in Peru, for example, we worked with stakeholders, with local communities in Paracas, which is an area that's comprised of marine protected area, World Heritage Site, Ramsar site. So it's a very important biodiversity area where some developments, coastal developments, port developments have been proposed, and we looked into trade-offs between some of those decisions and brought the stakeholders together to kind of identify the values, the biodiversity values, and what some of the solutions that could be put in practice to mainstream biodiversity. So we worked with governments and academia and civil society as partners in Peru to address some of those challenges, and it has been received very well, the outcomes of the project. There is also projects in Vietnam with respect to plastics and so on, minimizing the impact. So, and more broadly at the global level, we also work with WWF in projects where we look at synergies at the policy level, building on science, for example, on carbon sinks and carbon storage provided by coastal ecosystems like seagrasses, mangroves, salt marshes, and the ability that they have, like as blue carbon ecosystems, to contribute to climate mitigation and also adaptation. And bridging those synergies, for example, we want to encourage the parties at the Paris Agreement. They integrate some of the tools and guidelines and standards adopted already by the Convention on Biological Diversity, for example. There has been guidance on ecosystem-based adaptation, and if that's brought into, for example, national adaptation plans or nationally determined contributions, that could increase those synergies, that could also contribute to mitigation, to sequestering carbon. So we have been trying to bridge those gaps at that level as well. Here at the Lyell Center, there has been research, including PhD students' projects, also looking into potential impacts from dredging activities on the seabed and how it could bring back carbon to the water column and eventually to the atmosphere. There has been a lot of work done in Scotland and in our Orkney campus at Heriot-Watt on doing audits on blue carbon ecosystems and how much they sequester carbon at a wide range of different marine and coastal ecosystems to mitigate climate impact. But in addition to that, we could use also nature and marine and coastal ecosystems through protection, conservation, sustainable use of biodiversity to help with that mitigation. So making sure that, for example, biodiversity is not affected negatively from solutions on climate change. So I think the big thing now is the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework that was adopted at CBD COP15. It is an amazing contribution by the international community and to the SDGs. It has been recognized under that framework that was adopted by 196 states, parties to the convention. Adopted by consensus. It was a huge achievement, and it sets goals for 2050 for achieving living in harmony with nature, but also a number 23 targets. They're very comprehensive that supplement, in my opinion, the SDGs. I think it helps deliver the SDGs as well. It helps with climate. Target 8, for example, of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework talks specifically about climate change, mitigation, and adaptation, including through nature-based solutions and or ecosystem approaches. So working in that area, including, the target on 30 by 30, protecting 30% of the planet by 2030 is part of that global biodiversity framework. I think there is hope that we can reverse this biodiversity loss crisis and the climate crisis that we're facing.